Have you ever done a mix and it sounded great, or at least sounded really good, and then you mix it down, you burn it to a CD, only to have it sound totally different and usually kind of bad when you take it and play it in your car, or you play it at home or on your friend's stereo? Do your mixes travel well? That's the big question. Quite often not. Most people have this problem with their home or project studios. Now, why does this happen and why is this so common? Well, don't feel alone on this one. And even some very expensive studios, I've seen studios that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars that have this problem.
Most of the time this happens not because of your speakers, though they could be part of the problem, but because of the way the room and your speakers interact to alter what you hear from your mixer. The purpose of this section is to help educate you on what these problems are and to offer solutions on how to fix these problems in order to help your mixes travel from your studio out into the rest of the world. Now here are the topics we're going to be covering during this section. First, we're going to talk about noise floor, making your studio quiet. Next, I'm going to have a guest on to talk about standing waves or low frequency problems, early reflections, which are high and mid frequency problems, and the solutions. Also, an accurate and high quality studio will be more enjoyable to work in and will help you develop your ears to allow you to get the tones you want for your music. Understand that this is a very deep and technically complicated topic that we're going to try and cover in a very short amount of time. My goal is to give you a basic idea of how a physical space or a room interacts with your speakers to create what you hear. I'm confident that you will see significant results if you try some of these suggestions, but first, the problem. Why do your mixes sound so different in your studio than they do in the outside world? Well, the next two parts of this section, standing waves, which deal with low frequency problems, and early reflections, which are about high and mid frequency problems, are a bit more complicated. So to help clarify this information, I asked my mentor and good friend, Manny LaCaruba, if he would speak a bit on the topic of studio design and acoustics. Manny has worked as an engineer with credits on albums by artists such as Santana, Mariah Carey, Primus, Celine Dion, and Greg Allman, just to name a few. I got the chance to work with Manny on several occasions and found his work to be as good, if not better, than any other producer I worked with. He really knows how to make great sounding tracks. After engineering, Manny then moved on to be the head technical director at the world-famous Plant Recording Studio in Sausalito. He was my boss when I worked there, and that's where we met. After that, he moved into studio design and consultation. His most noted design work was also done at the plant, where he was responsible for the redesign of Studio A, where bands such as Metallica and Dave Matthews have worked, the mastering room, headed by John Cuniberti, and the Garden, which I would personally argue as being the best surround music mixing room in the world. This room was also featured on the cover of Mix magazine in April of 1999. The principle of acoustics used in building these world-class rooms are the exact same thing we are teaching you here, and Manny is definitely an authority on the topic. Manny now works primarily as a loudspeaker designer. He has a patent on a high and mid-frequency dispersion technology called the acoustic lens that you see here. You can also see Manny's technology used here in these custom loudspeakers that he built specifically for the plant's surround mixing room. Most recently, Manny and Bang & Olufsen teamed up to build one of the most amazing sounding loudspeakers I've ever heard, the Beolab 5. This speaker was most recently mentioned in Time magazine's November 17, 2003 edition as one of the year's coolest inventions, and also in Popular Science's December 2003 edition as one of the top 100 tech innovations of 2003. Manny's career in the audio industry is truly remarkable, and I feel very fortunate to have learned so much from him over the years and to have him as a friend. If you want, you can check out more about Manny at www.sawonline.com. SAW stands for Sausalito Audio Works. That's his company. But now let's cut to Manny and hear what he has to say about the basics of studio acoustics and room design.